So, while we all understand that financial services involve savings and all that, what I'll try to do is to not just restrict myself to financial services, but actually talk about the entire ecosystem of financial services, which would include companies and organizations, which could be vendors or suppliers, which are related to financial services. So let's start by defining. My definition is slightly different. I would say financial services involve money, savings and investments, other than a traditional definition of just saving, investment and insurance. I strongly feel that money and movement of money is a very strong part of financial services. Per se in India, financial services at its core is regulated by the Reserve Bank of India, formed when India became independent and as an act of parliament. So just to list down which are the key constituents of financial services, RBI is definitely as a regulator, right, sits on top of financial services pyramid. Going down, you have banks, you have insurance companies. Banks could be both public sector, private sector. There are cooperative banks. Today there are microfinance companies which are operating in lending space. Insurance, life insurance, general insurance. There are also insurance broking companies, which sell life and general insurance. Then comes investments, capital markets intermediaries. So you have mutual funds, you have equity brokers, commodity brokers, you have merchant bankers, and so on and so forth. Moving on, there is payments and remittance space. That is again a big market, which is again booming. So there is remittance, which is internal remittance. There is international remittance, and that is adding a huge value to the country. Who are the other players which are there in financial services, which are not directly related to financial services, but act a very strong, let's say, a cementing factor around the financial services? These are, let's say, IT companies. So, or these are companies, for example, Infosys. Infosys has a very large financial services practice because they supply technology to the financial services. So, in some essence, they are part of the entire ecosystem. So, the financial technology space is a very big space. I spoke of banks, but I'll come to the ATM part of it. Now, ATMs, we just have about 30,000 ATMs, or I think 60,000 ATMs in the country. The requirement is of almost 1 million ATMs. Today, banks don't manage ATM. ATM is outsourced, managed by other companies like Aegis, and Geobard, and all of them. So ATM management company. Similarly, then you come to cash management companies. So financial services landscape is a very, very large landscape, which actually starts from banks, wealth management, which are generally more talked about, or insurance companies, which are generally more talked about, in the newspapers and all that, down to cash management, where there is movement of lakhs of rupees from one point to another, which are not so much talked about. So it's a huge space that is there. When we talk of financial services, what are we talking of? We're talking of money, we're talking of savings, we're talking of investments, be it into markets, investments into banks, that's different types of instruments and all of it. So really, the growth will happen when people will have more jobs, people will have more money to spend. Other than the necessities of life, people start to save more. People start to transact more through the banking channels, and that's how in core the growth will come. So one of the key factors that's going to affect growth of financial services is really the GDP. And all estimates say that India will start to grow at upwards of 7%, at least for the next 8 to 10 years. Now, if GDP is growing at 8 to 10%, per annum at any estimate, then I'm sure financial services will actually grow at 15 to 20%. 15 to 20% of a large market, it's a very large amount of growth, and will require a lot of people in that, to really take things forward to customers. Also, if you see, the working class is growing, the middle class, what we say, people who are working, people like you and me, people are, there is a huge amount of number of people that are growing in working age, for example. So, by all estimates, by 2025, there's going to be at least addition of, I read somewhere about 925 million working age population in the country. That's a huge market. and most of the countries don't have that as a population. The other factor that's going to really influence the growth is the geographical reach. Right? Today, most of the financial services are actually restricted to the top 25, at best to the top 100 cities in the country. The moment you go beyond that, the moment you go beyond tier 3, tier 4 towns, and you move into towns which are 50,000 population or larger village or cluster of villages, suddenly you find that there are no banks present, there are no ATMs present, there's no way to make a mutual fund investment, there's no way to get into equity market, there's no way to subscribe to an IPO, there's no way to buy an insurance policy. So the moment we reach out to more and more people, reach beyond tier 4 cities, I think this market is going to, just boom. The other factor I think will really, which will have a huge impact, is technology. In technology in a way that will allow most of these products and services to be able to be accessed by a larger population. Let's understand that mobile penetration in India is far more than penetration of banks, penetration of insurance or any other financial services segment. So mostly financial services and banks will probably ride on the digital wallet or the mobile phones and spread the financial services. You have HDFC, ICICI. Most of the banks have launched their own wallets, have launched applications which are web, which can be used on an Android platform and stuff like that. So these are the factors which will actually determine, how the entire financial services landscape will evolve over a period of time. From a perspective of career, I think this is the great time to get into financial services. All the segments of financial services that I talk of are going to see phenomenal growth. I will take a few segments, talk of a few segments, segment by segment. So, if I talk of banks, new banks coming up, payment banks opening up, banks trying to reach out to a larger audience, trying to reach out beyond tier 4 towns, definitely is going to evolve. So, talk of insurance, life insurance, general insurance, insurance broking. Life insurance, the penetration of life insurance in India, even after all these years of privatization, is not even 10% of the Indian population. So there is 90% of population still to be provided with proper risk management and life insurance solutions. So that's a huge market. We talk of general insurance, that's we're just scratching the surface. I think general insurance basically covers risk of a lot of other things, physical assets, organizations and all of that, mediclaim, health insurance. These are all new things coming up. These are markets which are going to boom, at some point of time, and would require a lot of manpower to take their products and services to the customers. Let me talk of payments, remittances, payments, the whole digital wallet space. Today you read a newspaper, you find somebody or the other investor putting in some money. So there was PayPal in US, there is Paytm in India, there is now PayU money, and there are so many of these models which are evolving. Today I heard of you can make mobile to mobile payment just by touching two mobiles together using a evolved technology. So all of this would require a lot of people who are technologically sound, who understand this, who can create business models around it and take products and services through these kind of innovations to the customer. Another thing that is really required in financial services is convergence. Convergence of various segments happen. So if you are in insurance, you can move from life insurance to general insurance. You can move from insurance to banking. You can move from banking to payments. You can move from payments back to banking. So there is really a lot of convergence. So for all people who are getting into financial services, my advice is to actually be very open-minded. And I know that's one thing that I really see missing in a lot of youngsters today. You're either very, very focused. So you get into a mutual fund, you don't want to move from a mutual fund to a life insurance company, or from a mutual fund to a banking background, or from a product providing platform to a distribution platform. So financial services is a very large business, but at the core of it, it is all about servicing the customer and solving his needs for savings, for risk cover, for investments and all of that. That can be done through various products. So if you want to have a good career, you should be very open-minded in terms of your you should be open to move across segments of the financial services. I think these are the few basic things that is required. Otherwise, it's like FMCG, it is going to boom as the GDP of the country grows. Even in FMCG, you can move across companies, you can move across categories of FMCG. Similarly, in financial services, you can move across categories, you can move across business. So I think we are today standing at a point where there's going to be a huge growth in our financial services, in all its forms, across all its segments. And this entire growth would require a lot of workforce, would require young and dynamic people to take the products and services to all the customers across the length and breadth of the country. So I think this is probably the right time to get into financial services. See, when we interview people, at a frontline level, what we really look for are basic skills in terms of communication, basic skills in terms of presentation, key analytical skills. I should be able to smart guys who can, who can communicate with customers, understand the needs of the customers, and accordingly provide them solutions and sell the products and services. We also, take a lot of young people in back-end, functions where there are process requirements. So you need people who understand processes. You need so they can be a part of a process, managing a part of the process. Basic skill sets are required, but what is more required in financial services is while you can develop skills, what you require is an attitude to service your customer, to be able to understand his needs, an attitude which is positive, an attitude which has a can-do spirit. Now, if you have this attitude along with the basic skills that are required, then I think financial services is probably a good place to be in. There is a lot of growth which is available. You can move up the ladder very quickly. I've seen people within 5 to 7 years, starting young, starting at an entry level, becoming, senior managers and, at decently good middle management levels within a span of 5 to 7 years. And from there, your careers can really take off. For example, I started as an RM in one of the companies that I worked with in Chennai. About 17 years back. In 17 years, I've reached a level where I today manage a business. So I think financial services actually provide you that landscape of opportunities, which with your skills, upgradation of skills, and your attitude, you can really take it to the next level. So I think it's a great place to be.